Hello everybody and welcome back to Sai Knows the Score, where we have a double game week, don't we, where we are on game week 26, coming into the back end of the season now, aren't we? So what we'll do is we'll get straight into it today. There's no messing around here. If you haven't already, slap a like on the video, comment your predictions below and subscribe if you want to. And we are kicking things off at Stamford Bridge, aren't we, between what is actually considered a bit of a rivalry, isn't it, back from the cut back in the 70s between Chelsea and Leeds, where, you know, Chelsea with a reasonably comfortable win away at Wolves, wasn't it? Thanks to a Cole Palmer hat-trick, which did consist of 2 penalties, to be fair. Now, we said last week how Chelsea are a force away from home. Their home form, for the expectations, I suppose, for a team like Chelsea is something to be desired, with them currently sat in 12th for this statistic. Now, Leeds and myself were absolutely delighted with the win against relegation rivals Nottingham Forest. So, I was very shocked at how poor Forest were, and Dyche did get it all wrong, didn't he, with his team selection. It was a bit bizarre, the team selection that he had, and that's coming from a Leeds fan. Even afterwards, looking at the reaction of the Forest fans, they couldn't believe it either. I mean, Callum Hudson-Odoi's not done a whole lot this season, has he? Mari Hutchinson did look good when he came on. They do have a tower blocking Lorenzo Luca now, don't they, when he comes on at 6'7", so maybe they'll look to utilise him more with that Dyche ball. So look, as we've seen again on Friday, there is fight from this Leeds team, where the last time we played Chelsea, we beat them 3-1 on home soil. But even though on paper Chelsea are worse at home, Leeds are good away results-wise. So I can see a fairly similar game happening here between Chelsea and West Ham, but maybe Leeds going into half-time winning, but I just see Chelsea winning this one and coming out. I'm going to go with a 3-1 win in the end for Chelsea. Everton versus Bournemouth, and Everton with a superb win at Fulham, wasn't it? Which has to be said. It was a fairly entertaining game, but can Everton be that surprise package to get into a European spot? On the other hand, would it be that surprising given that they've got a new stadium and the amount that they spent in the summer transfer window? I'm not sure, but they have just beaten fellow contenders in Fulham. It looks like it could be between them, Brentford, Sunderland and Liverpool for a top 7 spot. And I mean, how nice would it be for Everton fans if they were to finish above Liverpool this season? Bournemouth, though, yet again not able to win in matches where they are the dominant team, and as we know with Bournemouth at home, they will pepper shots at the opposition goal, and were unlucky not to beat Aston Villa in what I would say was a convincing performance really from Bournemouth. And that high attacking intensity approach can be troublesome for them away from home, and I suppose it has to be factored in my mind here for the prediction, because even though Everton haven't been great at home either, it's again one of those matches similar to the last one we mentioned with Leeds Chelsea. So I see this being fairly basketball-y. Everton at home as well. They might not even see much of the ball here, given how Bournemouth played, but they do rely on their compact counter-pressing tactics that they use away from home. If they do that again here at home, I think this could help them secure a win, but they don't tend to be the same at home. So given Bournemouth's lack of ability to win when they should win, and how Everton are at home, I think draw could be the correct score here, so I'm going to go with a fairly entertaining 2-2 draw here at the Hill Dicky. Spurs versus Newcastle, and Spurs have to, it has to be said, they are in a relegation battle as they find themselves level on points with my team Leeds, which is quite surprising and shocking. So I'm thinking Spurs and Thomas Frank are getting fairly desperate now out there for a win, which doesn't happen too often either at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So look, they've got Romero out now, and he's one of their biggest goal-scoring threats, which is shocking as well. Maybe luckily for Spurs that Newcastle's away form isn't incredible at all. I think they're 16th in the away table. But then nor is Newcastle's form in general in all competitions right now. So yeah, this is definitely time for Spurs to get a home win against a low in confidence Newcastle side who have just lost at St James's Park to Brentford. So yeah, look, it is a tricky fixture to predict, isn't it? And taking all these things into account, I'm It's so tough. I'm thinking 1-1 to be a draw here between these two sides. So 1-1 to be the final score. And really, if you're going to go for a correct score or a team to win on here and you're looking to put a bet on, I wouldn't be thinking of this game. That's my personal opinion anyway. West Ham versus Manchester United. And as we saw with West Ham, and expected, I suppose, they did get over the line against Burnley. Now, it was funny because they had 2 shots and scored 2 goals in the first half. And coming into the second half, Burnley had about 15 shots, I think, into around the 60th minute compared to West Ham's 2, and yet they found themselves 2-0 down. Burnley could have scored a goal or 2, couldn't they? But they didn't. And West Ham stuck it out and got over the line. And could you say it was a deserved win? I don't know if deserved is probably the right word. They got over the line, and that's all they had to do. They took the foot off the gas, didn't they, at 2-0. And that was it, really. It wasn't it. There wasn't really much more to be said. Now, Manchester United, on the other hand, with a fairly nice 2-0 win in the end, it was a bit of a tricky start for them against Spurs, where Spurs looked okay, didn't they? And then Romero got sent off, didn't he, fairly early on. So, as you would expect, went on to win that game 2-0. And that fella, who is a bit of a meme, isn't he, with his hair, on the verge of 5 in a row now out there in terms of wins, which means he can finally get his hair cut, and I think Carrick addressed this in his press conference too. So look, Man United in pretty good form at the moment, still got that manager bounce, Carrick doing well for them. 4th in the table. Now, West Ham, as we know, haven't been great at home this season, but they've got the confidence back, haven't they? And it could be a bit of a tricky one now. I hate to say it as a Leeds fan, but we need Man United to do us a bit of a favour here, don't we? Hopefully a win. Definitely not a loss, otherwise coming into the Leeds' next 3 fixtures, we do not want this. So on the balance of things, I'm going to go with a very tight, narrow 2-1 win to Manchester United. Aston Villa versus Brighton. And yes, now Aston Villa, if they're going to be looking for a title challenge, they need to be more consistent, don't they, against the last 2 teams they've faced. So, obviously, they lost to 10-man Brentford at home 1-0, which was pretty disappointing. And, of course, went away to Bournemouth and got pretty battered, really, and were quite fortunate to get out with a 1-1 draw. So, yeah, look, they were never really going to win the league, but now there's only 3 points between themselves and 4th place Man United. And then 4 points between themselves and 5th place Chelsea now. 5th place, you'd imagine, probably will still be Champions League, but they really, because that gap was 8 points only a couple of weeks ago between themselves and Man United. They really are looking over their shoulders now, aren't they? So Aston Villa will be looking at this thinking, right, they need to beat Brighton here, because Brighton, on the flip side, are very inconsistent, aren't they? And, again, when we're looking at the fixtures and the form here, they haven't won now in the league since Burnley, shockingly, back on the 3rd of January. And they've struggled against teams where maybe you think they could get over the line and be a bit more consistent and get some wins. But that hasn't happened, has it? So when we look at this game, given Brighton's current form, you know what will happen? Brighton being inconsistent, they'll somehow go and win this game. But on paper right now, you've got to look at Aston Villa, haven't you? And I'm thinking to myself here, another narrow 2-1 victory to Aston Villa. Crystal Palace versus Burnley. And yes, we'll begin with a bit of a positive news, shall we say, for Crystal Palace, where they finally got a win, haven't they? After I think it was 11 where they hadn't had a win. And it was away at Brighton at the Amex, giving Brighton their 2nd loss of the season at home. So fair play to Palace, and probably a little bit deserved as well, wasn't it? Where Brighton didn't really offer much, especially attacking-wise there. Sean Larson could have got a debut goal too, but didn't. So, on the whole, it was a good performance. Yeah, I think just getting a win for them was just needed, just to instill a bit of confidence for Crystal Palace. Annoying, I suppose, though, for the teams at the bottom, where we thought maybe Palace can get dragged into it, but taking them to 32 points now, you feel like another 2 wins and a few draws should be enough to see them over the line to remain in the Premier League next season. Burnley, on the other hand, we definitely can't see them being in the Premier League next season. And that win, they wish they could win. That defeat away against West Ham at home at Turf Moor was definitely the nail in the coffin, if it wasn't already done beforehand. They just lack that quality, don't they, at both ends of the pitch so much. Like, you can see the way they play that there's something there at times, but yeah, they just can't score, and then they can't defend, and it's really, really poor showing. You can definitely see they look like a championship outfit already. I would go as far as they look like the worst team in the league this season, and especially right now anyway. They haven't had a win since October, 26th of October, I believe it is. So yeah, definitely dead and buried. So I think this will be a fairly convincing and comfortable win for Palace, and I'm even going to give them another clean sheet here, back-to-back clean sheets for Palace. I'm going to go 2-0 to Crystal Palace to be the final score for this one. Manchester City versus Fulham, and yeah, Man City with a rare victory at Anfield, and Pep getting a 2-1 late on win there as well. And look, it doesn't matter how they come, does it? They got over the line and probably just about deserved it as well, to be fair. I thought Liverpool looked okay as well, and probably performance-wise, it was probably what I would imagine the game to be in the game state. Now, obviously, it's a world ago by Szoboszlai, then got sent off, and there was a lot of stuff going on in that game, wasn't there, especially towards the end. So, look, it was a great win for Man City to keep them in the title charge, staying 6 points now behind Arsenal, and so, again, somewhat breathing down the necks. We'll obviously be hoping for an Arsenal defeat at some point soon. But look, yeah, here with Fulham have just started to slip, haven't they? They've gone on that really great run before, got themselves into the top 7, didn't they? I thought, okay, they're definitely going a bit of a European contender spot here, aren't they? Going a bit of a charge for it. But then they've lost throughout the last 4, haven't they? And, you know, losing away at Leeds, you think, could they have got something there? Beat Brighton, which is a good win. Lost to Man United, where heartbreak for them in the last minutes, where they scored in the 90th minute and then conceded again in the 90th minute. And then lost to Everton as well at home, where you think that was definitely a game that they could look at getting something. But Everton's away form, as we know, isn't too shabby. But can we see them actually doing something here at the Etihad? Probably not. Now, I think Fulham are a solid outfit out there. I don't think they're going to get absolutely battered here by City. I feel like this, again, will be just a fairly comfortable 2-0 win to the citizens. Nottingham Forest versus Wolves. And as we established earlier, Forest had a shocking performance against Leeds, didn't they? And, you know, they were 4 unbeaten before that in all competitions, I believe it was. I'm just looking now, actually, I'm telling a lie. They were unbeaten in 4 in the Premier League before that. Now, yeah, look, Dyche could be on the ropes here, especially with how Marinakis is. He's quite an aggressive owner in terms of manager changes and splashing the cash and making changes very, very quickly if needs be, which isn't always a bad thing. But it's more of that Watford approach, isn't it? Now, yeah, they'll need to beat Wolves here, don't they? This is you would say is a must-win. I don't like using the term must-win for matches, but when you're playing bottom of the table, just lost to a relegation candidate in Leeds, you'd be looking at this thinking, right, Leeds are away at Chelsea, most likely going to lose. Man United are at West Ham, could maybe see defeat there for West Ham. So a win here could potentially mean that they are 6 points clear of the relegation zone once again, joint on points with Leeds. Wolves don't look terrible. Again, similar to Burnley, they just lack at both ends of the field, don't they? Now, I feel like Wolves' performances are better than Burnley's on the whole, and you can see the way that the player move the ball around. They are a little bit better in that way. I just feel Forest at the City ground, they are a bit of a tricky customer out there, and I can see this being a tight game. You could even maybe see a draw here, but I'm gonna go with what it should be. I'm gonna go with a narrow 1-0 victory to Nottingham Forest. Sunderland versus Liverpool, and yes, it's at the Stadium of Light, where Sunderland are still unbeaten in 12 matches here, where they've won 7 and they have drawn 5. So look, this is again another very, very tricky game for Liverpool, where we saw them draw against the likes of City and Arsenal also at the Stadium of Light. So definitely one for Liverpool to be very, very wary of here. In terms of Sunderland's form, a little bit inconsistent, as you would expect as well for a team that are newly promoted. But look, they are doing phenomenally well in 9th position on 36 points already. So you'd imagine one more victory and a couple of draws is definitely Premier League status for next year. But look, I don't think they're going down regardless. Even they lost 3 or 4 in a row at this point. So fair play to Sunderland and Regis Lebris. So yeah, with this one here, they've lost against Arsenal. They beat Burnley convincingly. Lost to West Ham fairly convincingly. So yeah, they're a little bit hit and miss with performance, especially away from home. As established at home, different gravy. So Liverpool, as we know, might be a bit deflated from that Man City loss. Look, Liverpool, as we know, also been a bit inconsistent this season, where they win, lost, draw, lot, win. And I think this is going to be a real tricky fixture for them. Of course, they will probably have the lion's share of possession here. I think it's going to be an entertaining one here at the Stadium of Light. Look, Sunderland are going to go into this, no fear. Liverpool are going to go into this maybe slightly deflated. I'm thinking entertaining 2-2 draw to be the final score for this one. And last but not least, one which, of course, Man City will be keeping an eye on is Brentford versus Arsenal. And yeah, Brentford went on a bit of a run, didn't they? Where they didn't get a winning. I'd say a bit of a run. It's only 2 games, wasn't it, against Chelsea and Forest? But then they've flipped that on its head now. They beat Aston Villa with 10 men, and they went away to St James's Park, which is an incredibly challenging stadium to go to, and beat them 3-2, which was slightly deserved. It really reminded me of the Leeds Newcastle game there only a few weeks ago, in terms of it was very basketball up and down. It was very similar, wasn't it? You could have seen more goals in that game too. But yeah, you could say that, for an away performance for a team going to St James's Park, it was a deserved victory. So Brentford very much still remain in decent form, and Arsenal will definitely know all about Brentford's home form, where they sit 4th, I believe, in that statistic. Oh no, they've gone down to 6th now. Oh, but they do have a game in hand over some of those people. But yeah, 6th in the home table, so nothing to be shunned at whatsoever. So yeah, look, Arsenal with another convincing win as well against a new promoted side in Sunderland, 3-0. And I was grateful that they scored a last-minute goal to give me that 3-0 correct score prediction last week. But look, you imagine here, this is definitely a banana skin, isn't it, for Arsenal? And I might go a little bit bold with this one. I'm thinking Brentford are in decent form, very good at home. Arsenal, we know, the top of both metrics, home and away. But we have seen them slip up against teams like this, haven't we? So I'm thinking here a draw, and I'm thinking 1-1 could be a pretty good prediction here. So yeah, 1-1 to be the final score for this particular game and the last game of Game Week 26. So thank you once again for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. If you haven't already, please slap a like on the video. It really does help, and it's always very grateful from me. And if you want to put your comments below in terms of predictions or anything football related, please do. I'm always here for a bit of a chit chat, as I'm sure some of you know. And yeah, please subscribe if you like to as well. But until the next one, which will be obviously a quick turnaround, so it'll be either Thursday or probably Friday, where the next lot of predictions will come out. Have a great couple of days, and we'll see you in that one for Game Week 27. So bye for now.